You in here for some marijuana? Marijuana? Man, this is some bullshit.
Marijuana is not a drug. I used to suck dick for coke.
I seen them.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the very first episode of Weed the People Radio. I'm your host, James Currey.
And I'm Anthony LaFerrara.
And man, we are excited to bring this segment under the brand We the People Radio. So you probably recognize us from that show, but we decided to switch it up and not talk politics for a little bit and talk about something that we really enjoy and that we're really passionate about. And this is what the original plan for our show was, to talk about a little bit of everything, but because of everything that was going on, we had to bring the news to the people. But now we feel like it's time to start talking about cannabis and marijuana, the industry. We're going to do product reviews. We're going to do strain reviews. We're going to talk about
do it all.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the history.
Folks.
We're going to chop it up about a lot about this industry. And the reason for it is because of New Jersey, our home state, just legalized marijuana finally.
Absolutely. And one of the big things I want to start off our pilot episode and all the episodes to come, and something that we've learned from our other shows, which are politically centered, is that politics unfortunately tends to drive a lot of people apart because of opposing views. And the one truly, truly beautiful thing about cannabis is that it brings people together. And no matter what class, creed, race, color, sex, religion, gender, what have you, everyone smokes pot and everyone loves cannabis. And if they don't, they just don't know it yet.
The best way to squash a beef is just lighting a blunt and passing it back and forth. By the time that blunt is done, that beef will be squashed. You won't be hating each other. You won't be mad at each other. What's done is done. But for me, for those who know from We the People that are coming over from that show, know that I moved from New Jersey to Las Vegas. And the reason I did that was, one, the sunny weather, two, the no state income tax, but most importantly was the legal marijuana industry. I had a couple states in mind that I wanted to go to, but
that's the hat trick there.
Yeah, the final selling point was the legal marijuana industry, because I've always wanted to get into that industry, and that's something that I've always wanted. That's the industry that I've always wanted to work in.
Mm-hmm.
And I came out here, I found out very quickly how political it was and how you have to be connected to get into it. But I did start bud tending right away. Like, that's something that I started doing. And man, that was a lot of fucking fun, dude. That was the best job I've ever had in my entire life. Like,
we're also going to try to not curse as much as possible.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, dude.
No promises.
No, definitely no promises. Do not.
We'll promise to try.
That's the best we're going to get. Maybe we should put a swear jar in
That's not a bad idea.
Our own little swear jar. Instead of money, we put just nugs of weed.
Yeah, that's great.
But it was a lot of fun to be a bud tender, because you got to talk about cannabis openly, you got to talk about weed openly, and you got to help people. That was the coolest part, was because Las Vegas is a very interesting place. It's a destination spot. Not many people.
But I mean, like, where most people that were coming in there, what would you say the ratio was
tourists,
medical to cannabis? So if they're mostly tourists, then it's recreation.
Mostly recreational. There was
the
dispensary that I worked at,
which is a weird thing to call it recreation. Like, it's not I don't know. Adult. I think adult use is more of probably medical versus like adult use.
I 100% agree.
It's not recreation.
That's just how they.
I'm not going to play golf.
That's how they categorize it. And that's across the board. But it was a lot of fun. I learned a lot about cannabis and the plant. But it was a lot of stuff that I already knew. But
now in Vegas, they have like two separate kind of menus, right? Is it like, if you're a medical patient, you can go here. If you're adult, so, when I went out there, I experienced that.
Now it's most of the medical only dispensaries have made the transition to being a recreational dispensary. There's not many medical only dispensaries.
Well, it was both. I went into two different dispensaries. Now this is a couple years ago now. I went to two different dispensaries, and both of them had certain products that were available to medical patients that were not available to adult use.
They don't have that anymore. The only thing that's not available to the recreational consumer is the edibles. So edibles in Vegas are ass. And for the average person, they're probably good, but for me, they suck because they limit them at 100 milligrams per edible, unless you're a medical patient. If you're a medical patient, you
Right.
can get up to 500 milligrams. But
Oh, so then maybe that's just what I saw or what I was thinking.
yeah,
Of,
100 milligrams just doesn't. And most dispensaries don't even carry the medical edibles. They don't even carry them because there's not enough medical patients. To be honest, now that it's recreational, most people, like, there's a fee. Like, I was a medical patient in New Jersey. It cost me $600 just to get my medical card. Then you go to the dispensary and it's $600 an ounce. I was like, yo, this is highway
and it's
robbery.
not even that good.
Yeah, this is highway robbery. Like, what is going on? But it's been a huge passion of mine, and I know, Ant, you felt the same way. And before I moved out here, me and you went to the biggest
Oh yeah,
joke.
we did. It was such. I was so mad about that, man.
So mad.
And you know, it's something to just, I guess, be cautious of, because there's people that want to take advantage of all of the residents that are like super excited over the possibility that they may get access to this plant through this new law. And we went to this convention. It was $350 a ticket. I mean, they made a fortune because that's not the only one that they had. I mean, they probably had 6 or 7 after that. Anytime it gets brought up in the news, they have another convention, $350 a pop for the ticket. 1,000 people show up. Do the math.
Yeah,
you know,
they made a killing and just showed up and talked and basically.
And then years passed, right?
Yeah, years, because this is before I moved out to Vegas. This was before I even really thought about moving. It was like right when Murphy got elected. So it was, I think, really,
that was 18.
It was before that. It was
17 then.
It was 17 because I moved in 18. And
okay.
So it was before 2018, and it was either right when he was gonna get elected or right after he got elected, because
the big deal that was. Yeah, but the big deal for New Jersey at that time, we were going to be the only state that would have passed the cannabis legislation through
the
legislation. Yeah, through the legislators, through the lawmakers, whereas all the other states was through voter referendum. Yeah, but then Vermont beat us to it, and then now we couldn't get it done through legislation. So in the November elections, we passed it through voter referendum.
Snaggletooth Phil Murphy, not to bring politics into this show, he said, "Oh, I'll get it done in my first 100 days. We're going to get marijuana legalized in my first 100 days." Couldn't do it. It's been a couple years, and it's just becoming legalized now. He literally got elected. Like, everybody that I know voted for him because he said he was going to legalize weed. That's literally why they voted for the guy. Like, it's ridiculous, and he sucks. But fuck you, Phil Murphy. I know it's not supposed to curse, but fuck you.
I don't know. Did we say that in this show, or was that one of the 5 earlier shows that we tried?
Yeah, they don't want us recording. They don't want us recording because of our other.
I don't even remember what we talked about.
Because of our other show. But I know you've really been into this for a long time. You make
absolutely
you make your own edibles. Like, you're actually one.
I just started though on Monday.
Yeah, you're one of the few people that I could talk to from back home, from New Jersey, that I could talk to on a level of cannabis and the plant that most people don't understand. Most people are just stoners and they just want to get high, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's totally
it's part of it for sure.
Absolutely, I love getting high as well. But when I first, growing up, I bought into all of the propaganda. Like I said it on our other show, I bought it hook, line, and sinker. Like, I fed into it. I was like, yo, this is bad. It's a gateway drug.
The DARE program.
Well, dude, I want to talk about the DARE program. Like, that's the biggest joke ever. And I really wish I was smart enough at the time to realize that they were telling me exactly where to go to pick up my drugs. In DARE, what they told you is, oh, there's going to be some shady guy who's going to show up in the park and try to sell you these drugs. Like, no one in there, it's never happened to me. I've never gone to a park or anywhere, any public place, and someone walked up to me with a trench coat and a hat and was like, "Hey, I got some drugs here. You want some of these drugs?" I never happened. It's never happened.
Got people like, "Yo, pharmacy's open. Pharmacy's open."
Yeah, in New York, absolutely, absolutely. But it's never really happened.
No, and they're gonna sell you marijuana laced with all kinds of cocaine
PCP.
and methamphetamines and
They're gonna sell
no, they
wet-
don't do that.
No. Oh, dude, the amount of propaganda, and it all stems back to the history, and that's something that I want to talk about today, and that's a good transition for the people that are coming over from We the People Radio to Weed the People Radio. Is the history of marijuana and why it's illegal in the first place,
Mhm.
because many people don't even know that story and why it was made illegal in the first place. Because back in the day, like, some people are still alive. Like, my grandmother was born in the early 1920s. Marijuana wasn't illegal until 1937, so it was legal for part of her life. And
Sure.
they used it for medicine. Like, Bayer and other major medicine companies used to use it for medicinal values
Yeah, all
before they,
different tonics and
yes,
everything. Yeah, absolutely.
it was all over the place. And it's very unfortunate for the reasons why it became illegal in the first place. And
It is.
one was because hemp itself was the problem. It was the reason why they wanted to make it
But
illegal.
I mean, I think they're two separate issues.
They
I
are.
mean, they're two
They're
separate,
distant
yeah,
cousins.
completely.
They're distant
Yeah.
cousins. You can't get high from smoking hemp.
Should we just make all plants illegal?
Well, yeah, the problem was the hemp was so easily grown and easily made, and when the decorticator was invented, it was very easy to make hemp into a fiber that you can use for thousands of different products.
But wasn't hemp legal into the 40s? Like, I mean,
No, it was made illegal in 1937, and then
oh, it was.
during the war, they made a video. There's a documentary called "Hemp for Victory," because they needed
Right. That's
hemp.
what I was thinking of.
They needed they no, it was already illegal, and it
Uh-huh.
wasn't illegal. They made it was you needed a tax stamp.
Yeah, you couldn't transport it,
You needed to
basically.
get a tax stamp, and it was virtually impossible to get a tax stamp. And I think the first person to get arrested for weed was a guy who got caught with 2 joints, and he got like 4 years in prison for 2 joints. And that starts the whole private prison complex,
War
and
on
things like that.
drugs.
The war on drugs. And I want to get
Yeah.
into that because this is where it all starts. You have to know the history of the plant. You have to know the history of to why we're in the situation we're in right now, to understand how to fix that problem, to understand why the things that we're seeing, the injustices that we're seeing all over the country for a plant happen. So
Mhm.
they really wanted to outlaw hemp. It wasn't really weed that they cared about. It was really the hemp, because there was a guy who owned a paper mill, and another guy who also created nylon and rayon, which
Mhm.
were synthetic materials.
Yeah,
And
synthetic fibers that replaced hemp.
so they needed to get rid of get hemp out of the picture, so those can be used and made available to the public. And also, the paper mill guy couldn't produce paper because it was easy to produce paper on hemp. You can make hemp, like the Declaration of Independence was written on
Yeah.
hemp paper.
The rough draft, right?
Yeah, just the rough draft. But there's so many uses. There's literally thousands of uses for the hemp plant that would replace so many things that we have today, like plastics or cellophane,
Yeah.
or
The oils.
oils.
I mean, it goes.
Yeah,
It's boundless.
it's never ending. This is literally a miracle plant, and someone invented something called the decorticator, and it was literally to process hemp and make it into easy fiber to break down. And that was an invention that was made before it was illegal. And they wanted to hemp was such a huge part of our industry at the time that the decorticator was considered the best invention ever made at the time, because
Wow.
yeah,
And it was pretty easy to grow, right? Inexpensive.
very easy, super inexpensive to grow.
Yeah,
Could literally grow anywhere. And
because it's a weed.
yeah, a weed. But then they hired a guy by the name of Harry Anslinger.
Mhm.
Man, this guy, what a piece of work this guy.
Now, is he the one who invented, so to speak, the term marijuana? Right? Like didn't
Yeah, so
this term come around at about that time?
Marijuana is actually racist in its roots. And so Harry Anslinger was
Against Mexicans, or
yeah,
it was
to demonize it, because what Harry Anslinger would say, to one of the things that he said to make it illegal, He goes, most marijuana smokers are Negroes, Hispanics, Filipinos, and entertainers. Then he says their satanic music, jazz, and swing result from marijuana usage. Or this marijuana causes white women to seek sexual relations with Negroes, entertainers, and others.
It's ridiculous.
So these are the things that he used to push fear, similar to what we're seeing in our political show, push fear into the American public to want them to outlaw marijuana. And marijuana at first became illegal in Utah. And
oh, really?
yeah, Utah was the first state to make it illegal because the Mormons, they've already outlawed alcohol and other drugs. So it makes sense that they're the first state, but they used that to push it through the rest of the country. So Harry Anslinger came in, and he's the one who invented the gateway theory. He actually called it the stepping stone theory. He didn't call it the gateway theory, but that's where the gateway theory
where it became a gateway drug.
Yeah, it's a stepping
basically.
stone, he called it. It was a stepping stone to other harder drugs. And he used nothing but propaganda, and he was actually in office for 32 or it was either 32 or 37 years. I read.
He also got nations around the world to sign on to.
Yes.
What was the?
I forget.
Was it not a law or a treaty?
It was a treaty, yeah, where everybody treated it the same way. And here's the thing: the war on drugs really didn't start until the Nixon administration. Like the actual official war on drugs, when the DEA was created, it was the Nixon administration. I don't even know if Harry Anslinger was still in office during the Nixon administration, because he was in office for a fucking long ass time. But it essentially started in when Harry Anslinger came into power and became the first drug czar, because he worked for the FBI and the narcotics division. But the war on drugs itself is a war on people.
Sure.
It is one of the root causes in a lot of the injustices that we see today that we all can't stand, all the things that we collectively disagree on, like privatized prisons and things like that. It doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on. We all agree that this is a bad idea.
Absolutely.
And it wouldn't exist if it wasn't for marijuana, because the war on drugs isn't a war on all the other drugs. It's really just a war on marijuana. That's what it is, because 48% of the black market is marijuana. The black drug
now is
market.
that what you're saying? Like that is the root cause? That is the reason why, or the driving force behind why they wanted it illegal in the first place, was to get people packed into these private prisons and whatnot?
No. That was the original reason. Like I said, was to boost the guy who owned the newspaper and the paper mill.
So you're saying it was really more just making hemp illegal,
yes,
and then cannabis or marijuana, whatever you want to call it, got caught up into it.
That was the easiest way to get rid of hemp, was to attack marijuana. And
through Utah's starting making it illegal.
Well, that was the first state.
Yeah,
but
okay.
They deem it, like Harry Anslinger.
So would you say that if not for hemp, then cannabis would not have been made illegal back then?
It probably wouldn't have been demonized. No, because it was in everybody's household already. Everybody already had it. It wasn't something that people thought twice about. It was used for medicine. Like major pharmaceutical companies at the time that are still around today were buying and selling it. They were literally had it themselves. And then Harry Anslinger came in and pushed fear by saying, using his racism to push fear into people in the country. And that's what he used to make it illegal, because he needed to get his friend who owned the newspaper. I forget his name. I got to look it up. But he owned a newspaper and owned a paper mill, and his other friend was creating nylon and rayon, and they wanted those things to profit. If you own a paper mill, you're not going to do well if hemp is dominating the market. What's the point of owning a paper mill?
Yeah, so they all take out their competition.
Yes. So, and he used that newspaper to push the propaganda, because he owned the newspaper. So this newspaper is just pumping out, because you have to remember, this is the 1930s.
Nothing changes, right?
This is the 1930s. And they didn't have internet. They didn't have, like, when was TV invented? I don't know if they,
maybe in the people started watching, maybe in the 50s.
Yeah. So like the newspaper was where everybody got their information. Like the newspapers were so important back in the day. So they pumped out all this propaganda in the newspapers to push fear into people. So when they decided to pass legislation, the American public got behind it, and they're like, yeah, let's, even though this has been in our house and we've been using it forever and no one's ever died, and yeah, let's make it illegal. You guys, yeah, it's bad. It's bad. And that's literally what they did. They
Mhm.
literally just pushed fear into people's homes through the media to get past their agenda. And Harry Anslinger, you know that movie Reefer Madness?
Yes.
Bro, now it's a comedy. Like now
It
you
is,
watch it
yeah.
and you're like, this is satire, right? It was not at the time.
Not at the time. No,
Not
no.
at the time.
It
That
was
was
deadly
a
serious.
propaganda flick where people are literally smoking, taking 2 hits and jumping out windows and like literally looking like the Joker and cracking up hysterically, like in a hysterical fit where they
Really, they're
can't.
just sticking their head in the refrigerator and slamming chocolate cake into their hole.
Yeah, that's literally what they're doing, or sitting on their couch playing video games. And or if you're like us, we're productive stoners and we actually get things done. Because that's another stereotype. It's like, oh, pot smokers are fat and lazy and they just get the munchies and they don't do anything.
That's called terpenes,
Yeah. um,
which we'll
but
get into
we will
at another
definitely get
time.
into terpenes. I think that's a very important subject to talk about, and many pot smokers know nothing about terpenes, or they think it's just
Yeah,
for
so
the
I mean, so
smell.
that's a good topic to talk about too, like where some of these stereotypes come from, the stereotypical lazy pot smoker. And I for one, for the longest time, have shied away from alcohol. Not that I don't like it, but it's just not my choice. Like
Same.
I greatly prefer cannabis over alcohol. And although I love, like, a nice glass of scotch or whiskey or whatever,
Absolutely.
if I had the choice to, relax with a nice glass of scotch, or, a nice joint of Girl Scout cookies or something like that, I'll take the joint 10 out of 10 times.
10 out of 10 times. I wouldn't even think twice about it. Like if you're
Yeah.
giving me some like really nice you know, Japanese whiskey or some really nice like really, 8 Macallan 18, something nice, or some top shelf from a really good cultivator, uh pot 10 times out of 10. It's not even a question. I
Yeah.
wouldn't even think twice about it because yeah, I agree. I enjoy a nice drink every once in a while, and I'll socially drink. It's not something that I stay away from, but it's not I'd much rather smoke. Like if I want to relax and take it down, like most people come home and they're like, oh, I need a drink, I need a beer. No,
Hmm.
as soon as I go, when I'm done doing whatever I'm doing,
Yeah.
I need to go home and smoke. Jeez, like I just need to sit down and relax and enjoy it. But you're absolutely right. These stereotypes come from nowhere, because really think about this logically. If you're an average individual, go out and ask your friends and family, do you smoke pot? Have you smoked pot? A majority of them are going to say yes.
I'm sure most people have. Well, Joe Rogan's most viewed episode of all time, with like 40 million views, is where him and Elon smoked a joint live on his show. So
Yeah.
the richest guy in the world. I don't know about this week, but last week he was.
Michael Phelps smokes weed, like Usain Bolt smokes weed. There's so many athletes and high level individuals. As Steve Jobs openly smokes weed, smoked weed.
One thing that I've noticed, and this is something that I've, kind of formulated my own hypothesis over the years, is that cannabis is medicine, right? And I knew that it was medicine. I didn't formulate that. And then I start thinking about, well, what kind of medicine is it? Well, typically you think of it as physical medicine, but it's not. It's not only physical medicine. It's physical, it's spiritual, and it's
Yes,
emotional medicine. It's
yes.
really whatever you need it to be is what it
Well, there's
can help
there's
you with, or what it can do for you.
there's so many things that we could talk about as far as the medicinal value of marijuana, because you're absolutely right. It's not just the physical aspects. Like for me, I have IBS and my stomach is in knots all the time, and the only thing that really helps my stomach and my stomach pains is smoking cannabis. I've tried all the medicines, I've done it all, and none of them really worked. If I
Hmm.
smoke, it's night and day difference. Literally within like that. It's so quick, and it's an amazing plant. But there's so many, when you're depressed and you're just in a funk and you just need to relax and kind of take your
Yeah.
mind off of things. And someone said it best to me, was an MS patient, and he's like, what? Someone asked him, why do you smoke weed? And he's like, it's not because it helps with the pain, as better than Percocets or anything like that. It makes me forget about the pain. It makes me think
Hmm.
about other things. and that may be all you need. It may not.
Yeah, just like that switch in your brain.
Yep. So when people say that stoners are lazy and they don't do anything, that's another stereotype that started from the Harry Anslinger days, and it's totally not true. Just think there's a majority of the country. I would say the majority of the adults in this country are regular cannabis users. Regular, not
Yeah.
just like
How do you define that?
I would say, smoke on a regular basis, once a week, twice a week. They smoke regularly.
Mhm.
The majority, I would say. Because it's so funny when as you get older, like when you're a kid, they demonize it so much and they make you seem like it's all shady backdoor deals. And then
Mhm.
as you get older, you find out that, oh, this person smokes. Wait a second, that person smokes? No way. Like Suit
Right. Yeah,
Man, Suit
absolutely.
Man over there, he smokes weed? No, like he's a businessman. There's no way.
Yeah,
And
it
you
can't
don't
be. It can't be. He's successful.
yeah, and then you find out that they all smoke, like all of them. Like you get into the business world, you get into sales. It's insane. Everywhere you go, I was training, and some of the best fighters in the world, they smoke weed on a regular basis. Like some of the best athletes in the world smoke weed on a regular basis. It's in my opinion, it's a crime that they're making people take these pain pills instead of using
Oh
the
my
pot
God,
plant.
is it a crime? It's a crime against humanity.
Yes, and this is another reason why it's continued to stay illegal
It
is because
steals people's humanity too. You know, that pain medicine. And then guess what? Your prescription runs out, and then you start getting it from another source. Then that becomes
too expensive.
ridiculously expensive. Then you have to move on to the cheaper options. And then you're, God, before you know
Then
it.
you're shooting up heroin.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, it's and so I got into a car accident before I moved out here and I got rear-ended. And I got really, I got a bad neck injury and I'm still in pain to this day. But I remember my doctor's trying to get me to take all these pain medicine. And I was like, nah, I'd rather be in pain. I'd rather just be in pain because I don't want to, God forbid I took those. I'd probably still to this day be prescribed to them 2 years
Mm-hmm.
of pain medication. There's no way I'm getting off of that. There's no way I'm just gonna be like, oh, I feel better now. Let me just stop taking all of these pain meds. There's
Yeah.
no
And you wouldn't have
shot.
pooped in 2 years.
No, there's no shot. There's no shot. And they made me sign paperwork saying that I was
Wow.
denying. Yeah, and I was like, yo, this is crazy. Like this
It
is
really
killing.
is.
Like I have friends that died from getting addicted to pain medication that they were prescribed to by their doctor, and they ended up getting addicted to it, and they
Mhm.
overdosed. It's disgusting.
The last 20 years have been a plague of people addicted to all kinds of opiates and
Yes,
oh,
and and marijuana, cannabis, this plant could literally solve that problem overnight.
should we talk about how many people have died over the years from smoking cannabis? Can,
Oh,
can you give me a visual representation with your hand?
zero is
That'd be a
zero,
big zero.
zero, a
Well,
big.
I think that there may have been people that had like, 1,000 or 2,000 pounds like fall on their head,
Yeah,
but
you
that's
can't.
about it.
You
Not from
cannot.
consuming it.
And what's crazy is they say that marijuana is an addictive substance, but they use the statistics based on people that go to treatment centers, and the majority of drug charges are not for heroin or meth or crack cocaine. The majority of them, like the large majority of them, are for simple marijuana possession. Now you're a young kid, you're a teenager, and you get caught with weed, and the doctor's like, "Hey, you can either go to treatment or you can go to juvie. What? Which one are you choosing?
Yeah,
You're choosing
makes
treatment
sense.
every single time."
Hmm.
And then they get counted as a teenager who's addicted to marijuana, and they use that as part of their statistic, even though they just got caught with a little weed. They're not addicted to marijuana. Like if I had to
You
stop
in
smoking,
here for some marijuana?
yeah, I suck dick for coke. I seen it. This guy, boo this man, boo.
But
So
that's from back in the 90s,
yeah,
it's
but
half baked. That's
you,
what,
you
in case you
cannot
guys don't know.
you cannot smoke enough weed. Like, it's physically impossible to smoke enough weed to kill yourself. The best you're going to get is have a panic attack and go to the hospital because you have a panic attack. Like, because people are inexperienced, and most of
Mhm.
the time it's because people take edibles, and I think that's very important. Um,
Yeah, and I think that was on one of our previous
yeah. So
takes.
when I was bud tending, a lot of people were coming out from all over the country because I live in Las Vegas, and it's a destination spot where people come to from literally all over the world. But
Mhm.
you have people from from states that are very strict on marijuana, and they've never smoked in their life, and they're like, "Oh, I'm in Las Vegas. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. It's legal here. I'm not going to get in trouble, so I'm going to go and try some marijuana."
Yeah.
And in their head, they're like, well, I don't smoke cigarettes and I don't want to smoke anything, so I'll just get an edible.
Yeah, logically, it makes sense.
And it makes sense because if there's one downside, in my opinion, if there's one bad part of weed, is the inhalation of hot smoke into your lungs. That is the only bad part of smoking weed. If you are not inhaling hot smoke into your lungs, you get way more medicinal benefits from it. But the issue is when you eat an edible, there's a chemical that breaks down in your liver. It's like tetra something something or other. Yeah, he's eating a gummy over there. But it's a chemical that breaks down your liver, and it's much more intense of a high than smoking the
And it
plant.
lasts a lot longer.
So most people make that mistake, and then it gets even worse because people that aren't experienced, they eat an edible and they're like, oh, okay, I'm going to start off with a small piece. 45 minutes goes by, I don't feel nothing.
Yes.
They're like, ah, yeah, like I don't feel anything. This is
Biggest
not
mistake you
working.
could make.
And then all of a sudden they're like, you know what? I'm just going to eat more. And they eat more. And then all of a sudden they cannot move. They are freaking out. They're losing their shit, and they have no clue what's going on. And it ruins
For life.
for life. They're like, oh no,
You're done.
I get way
You're
too
done.
high. I have anxiety attacks. I have panic attacks. Like,
Literally, the biggest mistake that you can make is
as in,
the scenario you just went
yep.
through is eating an edible, especially if you're inexperienced. And then you're like, oh, it's been 45 minutes or even it's been an hour. I don't feel anything. I'm going to eat another one. And then, you're like, oh shit, it's been 20 minutes. And I still don't feel it. Like, since
Mhm.
I ate the second one, let me eat a third one. And then all of a sudden, man, you're talking to
rocked.
Jesus.
You're
And
rocked.
the crazy thing is, like, also with edibles, like, depending on the type of edible. So what I've noticed, if you eat a gummy, let's say, I think it kicks in a lot faster. It lasts a long time, but not quite as long as if you have something like cookies or, let's say, a brownie, because the brownie mixed with fat metabolizes in your liver a lot slower. So it takes longer to kick in, and it lasts a lot longer too. So the best thing you can do for yourself is, if you take an edible, you eat an edible, give yourself like 2 hours
Yeah.
minimum.
Minimum.
And then if you don't feel anything, okay, eat a tiny bit more. But a newer thing now is like micro dosing. So small increments until you get to your
So
comfort level.
anybody that's a new, is an inexperienced pot smoker, I definitely don't recommend you start with edibles. Like, I know that
No.
sounds like the move to go, but I'm telling you right now, you do.
So then what
not
about
do it.
people who are concerned with what you just said, like inhaling
So inhaling the
hot
hot
smoke?
smoke.
You
My best,
recommend like
my
vapor,
yes, that's my next step, vapor. So you can,
but not like a vapor, like a volcano, like
a
something like that, you
volcano
mean?
is definitely, or an herbalizer is definitely much better. But even a vape pen, I think, is a good way to start, and that's what I would tell them.
Because some of those are really, really, really strong.
Well, no, here's the thing. Here's the thing, though. You can really gauge and pick your usage, because
Mhm.
with a vape pen, rather than, like, if you light up a joint, the human mind is like, all right, well, we light this joint, I got to smoke the whole thing, and they pass
Right.
it around, and they get too stoned because they smoke the whole joint, and they don't smoke too often. So I always say a vape, and I say, hey, here's a vape pen. You can't smoke one in one day, so I wouldn't even try. What I would do if I were you, I would um take one hit, wait 10 minutes, see how you feel, and take another hit, and
Mhm.
wait 10 minutes, see how you feel, and take a third hit. But by then, usually, if you're not an avid pot smoker, you're going to be high at that
You're
point.
blasted.
You're blasted. So
Yeah. you get some of these pens, the liquid, it's like, oh yeah, 95% THC, and you're like, what?
Yeah, but
Like,
it's different. It hits for me at least. It's a different high.
it's definitely different than the flower. So that's what I'm saying. You're gonna have a different high with that vape pen as opposed to like if you use an herbalizer or a
But
volcano.
that's the way to get into it though. Like that's the way to like gauge your usage.
Mhm.
And then if you're in a state that's legal, like out here in Vegas, what's really nice is the testing is very strict. And I will say, to be honest, Vegas bud is ass. It's fucking
Testing on what?
on. It's the so I'm not a big fan of bud from Vegas, to be honest. It's I wish it was better. Don't get me wrong. There's some really good
Well, I mean,
flower out here.
when you think in your mind, when you think of like bountiful crops, you don't necessarily think of the Las Vegas desert.
No, you don't.
You know what I mean? Or anywhere in Nevada that I know of.
It's all
Anyway,
indoor grows. It's all indoor grows, but
you
no one
think
knows.
of like
No,
Northern California, you think of Oregon,
yes,
Washington,
no one stores the bud properly out here, so everything is all dry as fuck.
dried out.
It's so dry out here, and there's only a very few good cultivators. But the one thing that Vegas does have going for them is the testing is very strict, and it's also very detailed. And I've really liked that when I came out here because I've never seen anything like this before. So
Mhm.
not only do you get the THC levels, you get all of the other cannabinoids that are in it as well, like all the terpenes. And that's something that I really enjoyed.
And in what form do you get this? Is it's like a printout stuck
Yeah,
to
so
the package?
well, no, when you're in the dispensary, you could see it. Like if you get the menu, it's there, or you
Uh-huh.
could look if they have open windows where you can look into it, like Planet 13, which is the largest dispensary in the world. It's like an Apple store for weed. It's really fucking cool.
Mhm.
But they have all these glass cases with all the product in it. You look at it, it has the list, a little card underneath of the testing and how it was tested. And I really like that because prior to moving to Vegas, I knew about what terpenes were, but I didn't know the medicinal value that they
Well,
had.
now when you say how it was tested, so the different methods of testing the flower, like
Yeah,
to
how
determine
detailed.
what's in
Yeah,
it.
it's very detailed and very strict. Like you can't have certain amount of pesticides or like no mold. Like they're very detailed uh in the testing. Like out back home, like the bud that we're getting in New Jersey is all the bud that didn't pass tests. It's all the moldy, like the bud that had pesticides in it, the bud that had mites in it. Like we're not getting the bud that, because if the bud doesn't test well enough and doesn't pass the testing, they can't sell it in the stores. So now they have
Mhm.
pounds and pounds of this bud that they can't sell in the stores, and it's just going to sit there, and you're going to throw it out, or oh, okay, I
But
gotta.
how would it get to New Jersey, James? That's illegal.
Let's be real. Let's be real here. We know the drug market is a massive market, and the majority of that market is marijuana.
Mhm.
You have to realize, like, there's not even like there's probably not even 500,000 hardcore heroin users in the entire country.
Oh God.
There's probably not 500,000.
I have no way of even estimating, or I don't even
So
know.
so they're really think about this with the same analogy that we used before. Ask your friends and family and all the people that you know about who smokes pot. I guarantee the majority of them are going to say that they smoke on the regular. Go around, do the same thing for heroin.
Well,
I'd be
yes, but
surprised if you found multiple. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Like
also
I,
assuming that
I'm not
people are going to be honest with you about their
I'm
heroin use.
I'm
But
not
I don't know
talking
about that.
I'm not talking about like pill poppers, but like actual like shooting black tar
Yeah,
heroin
but
or
you know what? When you think about, you're saying heroin, yeah, but I mean, there's probably way more than 500,000 regular
well,
opiate users
that's
in
because
this
of the
country.
pharmaceutical industry. That's a whole different argument. I'm saying hardcore, like they're going to Newark, New Jersey to
Yeah,
pick up a $5 bag of heroin. Um, they're a small minority, and they all live in the area where they can get the heroin. Because
it's true. They're close to their source. Yeah.
exactly, so there, you really think about it. In the entire country, there's not, compared to marijuana, there's probably over 30 million to 40 million people in the country that smoke weed on a regular basis. On a regular basis,
Yeah.
probably
So
more.
you're saying about 10% of the country?
I would say, well, yeah, you didn't even think of that. No, I would say even more. I would say even more. I would say a couple hundred million,
Well, I mean,
because
I know that all the people who voted for it in New Jersey probably aren't regular users, but we had two thirds of the state um, vote to approve it, that's incredible. 67% of the state voted to approve it. And then if you put out that vote 10 years ago, 12 years ago, I'm sure that number would be nowhere near that. Probably would have only been in the 40th percentile.
I don't trust the polls anyway.
Well, it's another topic. Let's not get
let's
not put our other hats on.
Yeah, I'll put on my red Make America Great instead of my Make Marijuana Great hat on real quick. We'll switch that off. No, it's probably a couple 100 million people that smoke weed on a regular basis. I was probably way off, but even still, it makes it even worse. The comparison even worse because there's definitely not millions of people that freebase heroin.
I mean, when you say how many people there are, right, and then kind of just talking about putting on the red hat or the other hat or whatever, but that's really what a goal that I have for this show too is to be able to bring people into the fold and a focus on people like coming together through cannabis, because I really think it's an amazing plant, it's an amazing gift, and it belongs to humanity.
Mm-hmm.
I really believe that. I truly believe that in my soul, and I think keeping it from people is beyond evil.
Most people don't know. Most people don't know, and this might be a whole time. We might do a whole show on this down the road, but our body is meant to receive the compounds inside of the cannabis plant. We have something. Every single human being, I don't care if you smoke pot or not, has something called an endocannabinoid system. It's in your body, just like you have a nervous system, just like you have an immune system.
I believe it's actually like a part of your nervous system.
Well,
like
yeah,
a subset kind of like,
but it's a full system. Like it's a full system. And basically what it is your body has receptors for cannabinoids. And what these
all over your body, like not just in your brain, not like your different organs, like everywhere.
And what these receptors do is they help your cells on a molecular level work more efficiently. That's what they do.
Well, this is a big reason why what we were talking about before, no one's ever died from cannabis, because human beings, and not just humans, other mammals as well, are designed to interact with cannabinoids, which are found in cannabis, which is, used by your endocannabinoid system. So because you can receive these compounds, your body is able to process them. You're not designed to receive all of the compounds in opiates and other drugs, cocaine, this, that, whatever. So that's caffeine. Why they get into your body, they build up to toxic levels because your body can't process it, and then
you're dead. You're overdosed.
Sad.
But cannabis, your body's meant to receive them. So however you feel about the plant, if you don't like smoking, that's totally fine. Yeah. You have to realize, and there's other ways to get some of these cannabinoids, like the terpenes and things like that. They're found in all different plants. Like one of my favorite terpenes is myrcene. And for those who smoke pot, myrcene, what it does is it gives you that muscle relaxation, that body lock, that couch lock that you get when you smoke. But you also can find that in mangoes. Or there's limonene, which gives you that happy, euphoric feeling. Smells like it gives you those citrusy smells. But you find those in lemons and limes.
So isn't there one in black pepper?
Yeah. What's in? Oh, I forget which one's in black pepper, but there
linolene or no?
No. Well, linalool is in lavender. So when you get lavender, like essential oils, you use that to help you go to sleep, to help rest, right? Mm-hmm. The reason that is because the terpene linalool that's in the lavender. So when you get that really tired, like sleepy feel when you smoke, it's because there's probably linalool in the strain that you're smoking. So everybody's endocannabinoid system is different. Like just like your nervous system, your immune system is different than mine. Same thing with your endocannabinoid system. It's different. So what I like as far as smoke may be completely different from what you like, and everybody's on their own personal journey to find out which terpene profile fits best for them.
I think everyone can agree we all like euphoria.
Yes, but for example,
I see what you're saying. What fits my system doesn't fit your system.
Yes, and this is what I say to people. Like some people really love, and this is the easiest way to break it down. Some people really love sativas. Some people really love indicas, and we're going to talk about how sativa and indica doesn't really matter, because it really doesn't. But when the average pot smoker, they're like, oh yeah, I really like sativas. I like daytime. I like head highs. I like that feeling. Or there's people that like indicas that like that tired, like relaxing feeling.
Mhm.
And that's the easiest way to break it down. But tell me how I used to think that I liked indicas because I would smoke some sativas and I'd get very anxious. I get very paranoid. Like I would feel like my skin's crawling.
Yeah,
I wouldn't
that's
feel
one of
comfortable.
those typical stereotypes from pot, right? Like the paranoia, like
Yes.
yeah.
And I'm a regular pot. I smoke all day, every day. And some sativas I'll smoke and I'll literally just I'll feel uncomfortable in my own skin. I won't like the way I feel. I know I'm just high, but it will make me not want to smoke
Yeah.
sativas anymore because that's I only
No,
get
I know
that
what you're talking about for
when
sure.
I smoke sativas. But then there's some sativas that I smoke and I feel giggly, I'm happy, I feel like I'm floating, I'm on cloud nine, I feel amazing, and it's a great high. And it's a great smoke, but still a sativa. And the reason why that is because of the terpenes that are in the plant, the
Mhm.
terpene profiles. So there's some terpenes that my body doesn't mesh with. Like there's this one called osamine that I don't really like that much. It gives me a little bit of a headache. And I stay away from it if I see it on a strain. But
Huh.
because of the black market, you don't have those options. Like if you're trying to smoke pot for the first time, you're like, oh, let me call my guy. You go pick
Dude,
it up, and he
it's
has what he has.
my buddy, two of my friends, right? They're down the shore, and my one friend who hooked me up with this delivery service, he you know, he just had nothing, right? And then they were at a bar and he saw his old supplier from years ago, right? And he, oh, yeah, he's still, yeah, oh yeah, no problem. And then so he's so used to this delivery, so he's like, so what do you have? Is indicas, or sativas, hybrids, like a 50-50 split? And he's like, I have I have weed.
Yeah,
you know, you get what's in the bag and
you
you
get
like
what you
it.
get.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it. And it's I know being in New Jersey, I would buy an ounce, and if I didn't like that ounce, like
You're screwed. You got to
I'm
deal with it.
beat.com. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm beat.com. It's just like, all right, well, I guess this is what I'm smoking. And I'm gonna feel like shit smoking this weed, but it is what it is because that's all you got. And
Hmm.
that's the issue with the black market. And weed being the majority of the black market, it fuels so many other industries. Like if weed was made federally legal, which I think is going to happen in our lifetime, I think it's coming down the
Yes.
pipeline at some point, regardless of who's in office. I think it's coming down the pipeline. But if weed was made federally legal, it would cripple so many industries. The private prison industrial complex would be gone. There would be no need because the
Mhm.
majority of the people in our private prisons are in there for possession of marijuana. There's more people in jail
It
for
would hurt.
marijuana.
It would definitely hurt the
There-
pharmaceutical
There's
industry.
there's more
Major.
people in in jail for marijuana than there are for rape, murder, and robbery combined.
Yeah,
That's crazy. That's insane. That's an insane stat.
it's a definition of injustice.
So 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 if you remove marijuana and those marijuana convictions from the prisons, then there's no need for all these prisons because there's not an overflow of people in the jails. There's not
Hmm.
as many people. Then there's no need for privatized prisons because they can use the space that they have in the federal prisons, and the state prisons, and
It will
the
turn those private prisons into grow facilities.
exactly. Well, great. They'd be great set up. There's separate rooms. You
Bob
walk in.
Marley's son did that.
Did he really?
What?
Well,
Yeah, I don't know
Damien?
what state. I don't know if it was him. He's got a couple of them.
He's got a
Ziggy,
million
maybe.
sons, but
Um, in one of the legal states, or maybe it was Detroit. I don't know. Anyway, he bought a prison, an old defunct prison, and he turned it into a grow facility.
oh, that's sick. That's sick. But it's the majority of the black market. So not only would it cripple that, it would cripple the cartels. It would cripple their business because a lot of their business is marijuana.
Well, yeah.
Um,
I mean, I
they
think we would have a whole different discussion here on what that would really do, like as far as legal on the federal level, and then it's legal at these state levels, and then what it does for those markets. Yes, but it turns cannabis into like this corporate thing that it was trying
it's
to defeat in the first place.
it's a slippery slope, and that's what we saw in New
Yeah.
Jersey. Absolutely. But I'm just saying in general the places it would affect, there would be no reason, there would be no need for a DEA. It wouldn't be necessary. There's not enough uh, Walter Whites in the world for there to be a DEA.
Mhm.
Like I've never personally met a meth dealer, like someone that grows meth that makes meth in their basement. Like I've never met somebody in my life, and I know a lot of fucking
Well,
people.
in
And
New
maybe
Jersey, if you're making meth and growing cannabis, even with the new laws, it's the same penalty.
I know it's insane. It's
You can have 6 ounce. You can have up to 6 ounces of cannabis on you and not get in trouble. It just can't be connected to roots in the ground.
Can't have a stem.
I
So
store it on my plant.
Yep.
What?
This
That's how I
is
keep
how
it fresh.
you know I feed my weed.
Dude, I have this sick humidor, this Canador. It starts out as a little seed. You stick it in the ground, and it keeps your cannabis fresh for months.
Yep. It's called the sun. Nine. I'm very so. New Jersey making it legal is a really cool thing for the cannabis industry, because right now,
Yeah, huge.
the best bud is grown in Northern California and Oregon. Though that is the best.
Um, what's our state slogan? The Garden State.
That's exactly my point. New Jersey is the Garden State. It is
Oh, good.
known.
Our connection transfers over to this show too,
Yep.
so it's good.
Mhm. The chemistry still building.
Yeah, the
Uh,
chemistry.
so it's called the Garden State for a reason. The soil is so rich
Yep.
with nutrients, and I'm very interested to see the product that comes out of New Jersey. And I really hope, and it's very unfortunate because it's a big hope in my opinion, that the people that are growing it for the right purposes, and they're
Yeah,
not
they're
turning.
not the Monsanto GMO
Well, that's I think
crap.
what's going to
Yeah,
happen in the pipeline. But
sure.
for example, a lot of potheads are video game players. They're gamers,
Hmm.
and I've known the video game industry, they've switched from tailoring their games to the consumer and the people playing it to all these microtransactions so they can make as much profit as they possibly can and get
Yeah, yeah.
out of the gamers rather than putting out a good product. Because like for example, Madden, the football game, I'm a big football fan, was one of my favorite games to play ever growing up, and it's still the same game as it was in 2007. They haven't made it better. They've actually made it worse, but they're just charging us more for microtransactions to actually play in the game, and that's all they care about. And that's going on not just in sports
That's
games but
pathetic.
across the board. And I really think that that's a very good possibility that this happens in New Jersey.
It's a natural progression with everything. I get anything that's commercialized, I guess.
Well, they have to figure out a way, because it really shouldn't cost as much as they want it to cost to start to grow in New
Well,
Jersey.
in New
Like
Jersey, at least for the end user, the end consumer, it's really just I think it's our state sales tax, and there may be like a 2% on top of that in some municipalities, but it's not as egregious as you're telling me you pay like 18%.
18.25
Yeah, that's
for
wild.
recreational
Actually, New Jersey's going to have less tax. Well,
in
yeah,
Vegas.
but we still got you. You have no state income tax, so you win.
Yeah, yeah, we win. But I think New Jersey, when it becomes federally legal, I think they need to lift restrictions, and like the fact that you need like 2 million liquid just to start at a dispensary.
It's outrageous.
It's
They
outrageous.
need
What was it? 5 million for a grow liquid that they were talking about?
the micro licenses. Like it's probably all lip service, but they need the micro licenses.
Fuck
So
no. They need to completely just treat it as a regular liquor store, as a regular, place that sells an adult. It's no
not in New
different.
Jersey, you don't.
What?
New Jersey, because the liquor license is outrageous in New Jersey. It's $750,000 to get a liquor license because they don't sell any more of them. It's
Well,
ridiculous. You go and buy someone will
well,
yeah,
that's
like
because
it's ridiculous.
not much, and I don't know about starting a liquor. Do you need a liquor license to open up a liquor store, like just bottle,
Yeah, yeah,
like
absolutely.
a corner store that sells liquor?
100%. That's why 100%. That's why you only really probably see them in, more urban areas because they have a lot more liquor licenses. Depending on the town, there's a finite number of licenses, as far as I know, and when they get sold, uh, the amount that they go for is staggering. Like literally seven
Yeah,
hundred and
and
fifty
yeah,
thousand dollars just for the license.
yeah, it's crazy. Well, it's still better than 750,000. It's still better than 2 million, but but no, they need to treat it like a regular business. The one thing is, yes, I think it's they need to treat it like alcohol, and the aspect that we need to keep it out of the hands of children. Um, Even though it's definitely way easier to get weed illegally than it is to get legal alcohol. There's kids shouldn't be smoking at 10 years old. Like
Of course not.
it's not necessary. And a lot of people are like, oh, well, I started smoking at 10 years old. I'm totally fine. Like, cool. But there's no need. Be a kid. Like, go and do kid shit. Like,
Mhm.
go play in the mud, go play video games, go hang out with your friends, have sleepovers. Like, you
Yeah.
shouldn't be
Go ride
worried
your
about
bike.
like I started drinking at 12, and like it was because I wanted to be the cool kid and drink because it was what the adults were doing. And I
Mhm.
think part of, if you look at places like the Netherlands or Portugal, where weed has been legal for a while,
Mhm.
you find out that teenage use is way down.
Hard
It's
drugs too.
way down. Colorado as well, way down. Because it takes away part of the fun as a kid,
Mhm.
and going to pick up like a dub sack and
Yeah, because you're
going.
not supposed to be doing it. So you're like,
Yeah,
yeah,
it,
I'm
like
I'm a
like your
rebel.
adrenaline's pumping, and it takes it away. Because like at the end of the day, like you could be a perfectly functioning individual and smoke weed all day, every day, perfectly functioning, and do everything. Like there's business people that do
Yeah,
it.
but I mean, there's excess with
Yes,
everything.
but alcohol, it's much more difficult to be an excessive
A functioning alcoholic.
a
Yeah.
functioning alcoholic than it is to be a functioning pothead. And I've spoken to DEA agents from New York City, and they're like, yeah, I'd much rather be driving next to someone who's stoned off their ass than someone who's been drinking all morning, all day. Not even a question, because you have the stoners that are driving, they're like
Yeah, they're 25 miles an hour and
super
they look at
paranoid. Yeah.
everything 7 times.
Did I stop at that stop sign? Am I stopped? Am I stopped? Dude, you're still at the stop sign.
I
Go.
love that little clip. Is that from Always Sunny in Philadelphia or wherever it's from? Those people sitting in the car, and the cops like, what are you doing here? You guys been smoking? They're like, no, we're just waiting for the stop sign to turn green. And then he's like, how high are you? And then they're like, hi, how are you?
I
He
think
goes,
that was
no,
always,
how high are you? He goes, hi, how are you? Oh man, that
or it's like
cracks me up.
the cop that stole the evidence, the edibles from
Oh,
evidence,
you remember that?
and got
That
super
was
stoned
the
and called
best.
called the cops on himself, and he's like, I think we're dead. I think we died. Like, as he's on the phone, like, I'm dead. I died. What?
But I mean, it goes to show you. I understand, say with some drugs, like, all right, you can make the argument that's ridiculous, but anyway, you understand why some things are illegal. Let's say because they're really dangerous, but you can't die from cannabis.
No.
It's impossible to consume too
Well,
much. You might want to die. You might think you're gonna die, but you're not gonna die.
no.
And you eat some Oreos, or you eat, you
You get
whatever,
a little fat.
you stuff your face, bring up your blood sugar, and you'll be fine. And yeah, it should have never been illegal in the first place. It's
No,
just
it was made
makes no
illegal
sense.
on false pretenses. It was
Yeah.
totally all propaganda, all fear
So
based.
now what New Jersey, I guess, is the most recent state to go legal, but what's the total at now? Like 17?
There's a lot of 17. Wow. There's a lot of states that are illegal. There's more states that are legal for medicinal purposes, but there's a lot of states that are recreational legal, and
I mean, once it gets to the point where it's 26 states, let's say, over half the country, I mean, wouldn't you think federally they got to
it
do
has no.
something?
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And I think I think the war on drugs needs to just come to an end in the first
But
place, because
New Jersey is huge. I mean, it will be without a doubt the largest cannabis market on the East Coast, because now how you're going to have everybody coming in from New York City.
Yes,
You're going to have everybody coming in from Philadelphia,
yes.
and I mean, they say $1 billion. I think that's very light. I think it'll be well north of that.
Yes,
Yeah.
well north. And when New York City goes from decriminalization to legalization, that'll take a hit on.
I mean, literally, all they got to do is take a train across the river.
Yeah,
and then you're there.
and then get back on the train. You don't have to drive.
man, having that dispensary.
Well,
That's why you wanted to have it in Jersey
Well,
City.
Yeah, dude, that's why we wanted to have
Remember?
it. Yep,
Yeah.
we wanted to open it up. We were talking with the mayor, and we were thinking about getting it done, and it was so ridiculous. And we probably could have pulled it off. Like we probably could have got the investors and pulled it off, but it was just like, all right,
Not with the cleanliness that you need in New Jersey. I mean, they look at everyone who gave you 50 cents going back 22 years.
yeah,
And if they threw a gum wrapper on the ground at one point or another, you're not getting your license.
yeah, it was so strict and so ridiculous. But you have the private prisons, you have prisons in general, you have federal maximum security federal prisons, and people are still getting drugs and weed and other hardcore drugs in these prisons.
Where there's a market, there's someone willing to fill it.
You cannot keep drugs from a prison, a maximum security prison. How on earth do you expect to keep it from a free and open society? You can't. It's a pipe dream, and it's a never-ending war. Do you know how much money they spend on weed? Do you know not on weed, on the drug war? Do you know how much money is put into the war on drugs? So as of 2003, it was $50 billion a year. So that means $136 million a day.
When did it start? The 60s?
So Nixon started the war on drugs. Yes, the weed was made illegal in 1937, and that's when they started pumping out all the propaganda.
But the war on drugs didn't start until much later.
So Nixon, it's so funny. Nixon put a commission together to do research on marijuana, on weed, and the commission came back and was like, "Hey, this is actually not bad for you. It's actually has some benefits, medicinal benefits." Nixon took that report, threw it out, and then immediately took immediate action on the war on drugs in full-fledged force. He's the one who created the DEA, and went in full-on attack mode with the war on drugs. And it was all based on marijuana, because if he read that report and was like, okay, this is not bad for you, there's no justification for doing a full-on assault on drugs, because there's not enough drug users. There's not enough people using hardcore drugs. Like, okay, cool. The 60s was free love and a bunch of hippies were running around doing a bunch of psychedelics. But really think about, in the grand scheme of things, how many hippies are out there doing hardcore drugs? Like, you go to Woodstock,
Hippies doing pot.
Yeah, the hippies are doing pot. Like, that's a whole other rabbit hole of, that movement and the dark, sinister background. But just in the drug world, how, like, at Woodstock, there was, a lot of fucking people there. Cursing again. There we go. Where's my little jar? I'm gonna put it in there. At Woodstock,
We'll get better.
Yeah, we'll get better for you guys. Just bear with us. We have to learn how to be less white.
You couldn't help yourself.
Couldn't resist.
You could not help yourself.
Resist. It was perfect. It's perfect. Couldn't help myself. But really think about how many people were actually, like, doing hardcore, like doing a bunch of psychedelics. It wasn't everybody that was there. Definitely not.
So it was just for them to get massive amounts of currency to change hands.
Yes, that's all it is. There's so, like, 50,
like everything,
$50 billion going towards the war on drugs, where it's a losing war. They're never going to win it. It's never going to stop. It's not like,
oh, this is about to be a slippery slope.
It's never going to stop. It's about to get.
Yeah. I don't want to go down this hole.
So, but it's true. It's never going to stop. Like, it's only going to get worse, and they're going to start putting people away. Non-violent criminals. That's the whole thing. Is these people are non-violent criminals. That's the big thing. Oh no. Oh no. Aunt, are you there?
As my internet connection is unstable. You got me?
I got you. There we go. We're back.
Right, cool. So, I'm not giving up now. If something happens, I'm staying till it froze again.
There we go. No, I had to switch it back. We're good to go.
Okay, cool.
But you have to remember, these people are non-violent criminals.
Yeah.
These people aren't out there murdering people. They're not raping women. They're not doing anything. Even the hardcore heroin users, the majority of them, some of them are getting into violent crimes to get their fix, but
Well, even
they're
to this day, there's a huge imbalance in the cannabis laws across the entire country, because you can, literally get put in jail for 10 plus years for one joint. I think in Alabama, I think Alabama has some very strict laws compared to it's completely legal in California, or even other states where it is still illegal. Maybe you just get a ticket, or you get a summons or whatever, something like that. It's that
and
part blows my mind too.
it's been medicinally legal in California since 1996.
Yeah.
Since 1996, it's been medicinally legal,
And then Colorado was the first state to go
2014.
12, I think.
Was it? I thought it was
Yeah.
14.
Yeah, I think it's 12.
Um, wow, it seems so long.
Wait,
ago.
wasn't there? I thought there were two. No, wait. It was Colorado and Washington. Weren't they together in 2012?
I don't know. They were around the same time. They were
Yeah,
definitely
but
around the same
Colorado
time.
was definitely
Yeah.
one of the first. Was
Yeah,
definitely
November
first.
6th,
I don't know who else was
2012.
first.
November
with it.
6th, 2012.
Boom.
And yeah, and they really set the standard for recreational use.
Hmm. Yeah, they were like the national experiment, kind of. Let's see what happens.
And it's way like it I love Colorado's bud. It's way better than Vegas. Like Vegas sucks, dude. Their bud out here is ass. Like there's a few good cultivators. Like Cannabiotics is really good. There's a few really good ones, but most of them are trash. I'd rather drive over to Cali and pick
Mhm.
up some bud and take that trip because it's so much better. Um, it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. Colorado though, flames. They have amazing.
Who would you say is the best if you had to pick one of the states that you've been to?
My I haven't been to it. I haven't been to it, but just from the cultivators that I follow on social media, definitely got to be Oregon or Northern California, like Humboldt County. Like that area is just like,
Because they've been doing it forever.
yeah, they've just been growing primo stuff forever.
Out, yeah, outdoor
A
too.
lot of outdoor grows, yeah, a lot of outdoor grows, and there's indoor grows as well, but a lot of
Yeah.
outdoor grows, and they just grow so much. And oh man, I really am excited for federal legalization because they have so much overgrow there that it's going to drastically lower the prices across the nation.
You're gonna be able
And
to start. You'd be able to trade it too. Like stocks, and not just stocks, but like
well,
as a commodity rather.
they are they are allowing that right now. Yeah, so December 6th, so a month later, Washington went legal. Um, they've been medicinally legal since '98 in Washington. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Well, no, Washington has some really good. But I met my one buddy came down here from Washington. And he came down with some fire. He's like, yeah, this cost me $30. I was like, what?
That's
What?
wild.
And it was like a half ounce. I was like, are you kidding me? This is nuts because it's so expensive out here. It's so expensive.
I mean, that's like $200 here.
Well, New Jersey's dispensaries, you guys are in for a while. Like the product, like in Garden State, it was 600. It was like 560 for an ounce. I was like, yo,
Yeah, and if they don't give out a lot of grow licenses,
nah.
or they call them vertical licenses, I don't know how many they have. Like you're licensed for the whole process from growing to retail sales. But if they only issue so many licenses, then they're only going to be able to grow so much. So then that market is going to be held to a certain size. So then prices are going to be kept at a certain level.
So, well, you're 100% right. And I think it's going to cause issues because it's going to drive these corporations who are doing it for monetary purposes. They see the opportunity in starting a weed business because they see that, it's a multi-billion dollar industry that is now overnight becoming legal. Like
Yeah.
it's already a proven industry. And overnight, you now have an opportunity to make tons and tons of money. And even if you don't smoke weed, you're like, okay, I'm a smart businessman. I see the opportunity in this. I'm going to open up an industry. You know nothing about weed. You know nothing about growing or anything. and you're just going to commercially grow it, pump out product as efficiently as possible, not care about the quality whatsoever, and you're just going to pump out hot trash, and it happens all the time, and it's so
Well,
unfortunate.
I
'Cause
mean, having legal markets also helps. I mean, I know we're saying it hurts the black market, but in a way, it helps it too because, people are less, less afraid of getting caught with it.
Yes, because there's so many really really good boutique growers, like people that are just small time growers that grow a few plants rather than a commercial grow,
Yeah,
and their plants are beautiful, like works of art, dude.
even though they're illegal.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it is what it is. You have This is reality. This is what's going on, all across the country, all across the world.
Mhm.
People have illegal grows in
Can
their
can you
closet.
can you home grow in
No,
Vegas?
no, no, you cannot.
Oh yeah, you're right. New Jersey is modeling after
Yes.
Vegas.
No, you cannot do home grows, and it's so stupid. It's so dumb. Um, but not that I haven't dabbled in growing, not out in Vegas. I did in New Jersey. But the the market is going to there's got to be a way to allow these boutique growers, these small time growers, to be able to prosper and get their products out there, and because
Yeah,
there's so much good it's an art, like it's like a science to grow,
yeah.
like you,
Not everyone has a green thumb, right?
you can literally give two people the same exact seed, the same genetic, give it to them, be like, hey, here, you grow this and you grow this, and bring it
Yeah, they did
back.
they did a show like that. You didn't see it?
No.
Yeah, they gave the same genetics, like they were mystery, like they didn't reveal what the genetics were to, I think, four different growers, and all the growers grew the same plant, and then they compared it. At the end, I forget the name was.
There's so many things that go into growing a good, like growing weed is easy. Don't get me wrong, it's easy to grow weed.
Yeah, but
Easy.
it's hard to do it very
It,
well.
if you want to grow good weed, it's extremely extremely
Yeah,
difficult. It's literally science. It's literally like you're literally testing pH scales. You have to make sure you're measuring
yeah,
your
it's not easy.
everything. No, it's precise. It's very very um
It's a
time
scientific
consuming.
art form,
Yes, and
basically.
when you bring it to the commercial level, it's not going to be that way. They're going to do it as efficiently as possible. They're not going
Mhm.
to be like these plants. I truly believe these plants, they have feelings and emotions. Did you ever see that experiment where the guy just beamed positivity at this one plant and then just gave the other plant a bunch of
I
negative
don't
energy?
I don't think it's feeling. I don't think that the plant has feelings and emotions. I think that the plant is sensitive to vibrations.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, a
yeah,
hundred percent, 100%. And you could tell, and the plant will be affected, and it will have stress, and it'll grow
absolutely.
differently
Hmm.
than, and you can have the same exact growing techniques, the
They're
same
like different
exact.
hertz.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's real, like good music, good energy, like it can
but
tell
just vibing,
yeah. So
just
like,
vibing.
when you grow your plant, you make sure you're singing and you know having a good time around your plant, because you want your plant to feel good. You want it to be happy. You don't want it to be stressed out. But there's so many things that go into growing, and it's really weird how you can get into growing out here, because when I got out here, like I said, I wanted to get in an industry, and cultivation is something I'm also very passionate about, and something that I really really enjoy, and I've spent a lot of time studying the subject. But I was like, yo, how do you become a cultivator? I was talking to somebody who's in the business, and he's like, basically you have to grow your own plants and document it, and the best way to get noticed is, he's like, make sure you grow it wrong, and get allow the plants to get moldy, and allow the plants to get mites, and show the process of you fixing those
Oh
problems.
wow, yeah,
And that's the best way to get recognized, because those problems are going to happen. They happen to the best growers. It happens. It's part of, it's nature. You have to be able to handle that and be able to fix it. That's how you get noticed. But it's it's so commercial that they don't care about the boutique grow anymore. They don't care about the small guy. They don't care about that. They're sitting there talking to their plants and like trying to give it good energy. They don't give a shit. They just want, oh, okay, we have 400 lights and we can grow six plants under each light. That's perfect. Let's just pump it out and get it out there. That's all they care about. So it's really unfortunate. And the cannabis industry is going to be the Wild West for a lot, many
a little
years of
for a
our
while. I'm
yeah.
excited, but it's exciting. It's exciting to see the future, and we're really like at the dawn of a brand new industry, especially in New Jersey, but really, across the country, because none of the states are limited to its residents, so anyone can travel for cannabis. And
Yeah, they come here to Vegas all the time.
yeah,
No, I'm very excited to see where this industry goes, and I'm excited to bring you guys more cannabis content and
yeah. So I
talk.
think this was a good episode. We talked about so many different topics, but pretty much each topic that we discuss could be an episode in itself. So
Absolutely. No, we're gonna bring you a ton of content from this segment. I know Nick is gonna start doing some mindset, law of attraction, business shows.
mhm.
Lex has got some content she's gonna come out with on her own.
What does she want to do? Like, what kind of content? Do you know?
She's going to talk about beauty products and
Oh, nice.
skincare and things like that,
Cool.
and lifestyle. She's going to talk about a lot of lifestyle stuff, and um, she's going to do a lot of interviews with some very influential females, and
Mhm.
she's going to do a lot of. She Lex has a lot of really big plans. Now we're actually working out the details as we speak because she's still in the middle of this move. She's still waiting on her internet guy, so hopefully she'll be back on down the rabbit hole this week. um but we have so much planned for this brand at We the People Radio, and so many things that we're gonna do, and this is gonna be one of our regular segments, Weed the People Radio.
We
um
the people.
and so we're going to have our own logos and own intros for these shows, and it's going to be really cool. It'll all be on our website, wprusa.com, and we'll be back up on YouTube with this channel, We the People Radio. um
As you
and
may or may not have noticed, the
yeah,
other channel is
no longer there.
no longer there.
We'll talk about
May it rest in peace.
we'll talk about that on our Monday episode. We have a couple good, we have good guests. We have
Which will
actually,
be on where?
it will be on Rumble.
Yes, it
So
will. And all the
um
podcast apps,
yeah, and all the
of
podcast apps.
course. But if
Absolutely.
you want to see our beautiful faces and talking about the typical topics, you'll have to head over to Rumble.
Yes, but this channel, We to the People, will be probably on YouTube and all of the other platforms as well. But we're gonna do a ton of really fun stuff. We have so much planned. I'm very excited to do strain reviews. I'm very excited to do comparisons and product reviews,
Yeah.
and eventually we'll start doing interviews within the industry. I have a ton of connections out here in Vegas. We're gonna get some people on. We're
Yeah,
gonna
we
go.
got to do like in the real world videos too, not just our talking bobbing heads.
No, yeah, we're gonna go to dispensaries,
Absolutely.
interview the growers, and I really want to get out into the cannabis industry and get the word out there and make an impact and be a part of this growing industry. This is something I'm very passionate about.
Pun intended.
And originally, like, if you look at my goal board, I was telling you, Ant, before the show, if you look at my goal board, it's all goals towards making a weed YouTube channel. This is something that I've wanted to do for a very long time, and I'm
Yeah,
super excited to
me
do this
too. We were just like, let's do it.
with my brother Ant, because like I said at the top of the show, it may have been the other show that we recorded. I don't remember,
I have
but
no idea.
Ant is somebody that one of the few people that I could talk to on a detailed level about pot and about cannabis, because most people are just stoners and just want to get high. They don't care.
Well,
Give me the
I'm
best
excited to
prices.
learn from you too, because you were a bud tender and you have all this information on terpenes, and that's really an area that I'm not very familiar with. But it's a new horizon, and
Well,
I'm excited.
that's another
to
thing
learn
that
about it.
I love about this industry, is that there's something that you can always learn. Like, they're now talking about THC 8, that they're talking about Delta 8, because the regular THC is like Delta 9. So now they're
Mhm.
talking about Delta 8 and how it affects people differently. Like, there's so many things that we're going to be able to learn from this plant that we've never had the opportunity to learn,
Yeah,
and things that it's
but
capable of.
just imagine we were studying it like we are now over the last 60 odd years.
Yeah. Well,
How much further along we would be, and how much more we would know about it.
absolutely. Well, I did a study actually, um, at Columbia University, for marijuana. I went
Did you?
and yeah, I
Oh,
went.
that explains it.
Yeah, I went to Columbia University to do a study, and it was the dumbest study ever. Like, I was like, "Yo, this is what?" So they gave me some bud from the medicinal grower in Mississippi, where the governor, the Fed, where they grow for the feds in Mississippi. That was the one of the only places. First off, that was some of the worst bud I have ever smoked in my entire life.
Yeah, it looks terrible every time I've seen it.
It was dirt. So they wanted to do a controlled study about how marijuana affects you, and they did a bunch of MRIs on my brain, and I had to sit there and like do all like I'm in the scanning machine, and I'm like literally have buttons in my hand, and I have to like do these food, money, or something else, like, and they made me want to pick. I guess they were trying to figure out how addictive it was, and I was only allowed to smoke like on 2 days and not smoke on 2 days, and I was given like really shit food, and um
Sounds miserable.
yeah, it was terrible. It was awful, actually. It was a terrible study, but the bud was terrible. They gave me joints on Easy Wider, thick ass Easy Wider papers.
Nice.
Just
Double
tasted,
wides.
oh dude, they were terrible. It tasted
Use the
like
whole thing.
asshole. Yeah, it tasted terrible. I couldn't even roll a blunt. Then they were like, oh, okay, because they wanted, I guess, to get me to feel like I was about to smoke, so they had me roll a blunt, and they gave me this Dutch that was the driest, stalest Dutch I've ever, like, I literally touched it and it flaked. I was like, yo, what are these guys doing here? But the bud was terrible. It didn't even get me high. And I was like, yo, what is the point of this? Like, they were depriving me of food. So I guess they were trying to figure out how addictive marijuana was, and they were putting these pictures of this delicious food or pot, and every single time, because I was eating, they were literally feeding me lean cuisine, and Weetabix was what I had to eat every day.
Ugh.
And they put the pictures up of like some really nice bud or people smoking or some really nice food, and every time I was like, yeah, I'm gonna take the food.
Yeah,
I'm gonna take
starving.
the food. The only time I didn't take the food is when it was with money. Like, they were like, okay, you can have $10 or you can have food. I was like, you know what, I'll take the $10, or like $100. I'll take the $100 instead of the food. That was the only time that
I'll go buy some food and keep
yeah,
$80.
I had no reason. They were like, I was like, yo, are you guys trying to figure out how, because I'm not picking weed. Like, it's the last thing that I'm thinking about right now. I'm thinking about food. I want good food. Like, you're feeding me shit. And not only that, the weed that you're giving me sucks. Like, this is not even, and you're giving
Is it
me
more of this weed? Because that's always no.
Yeah, it's like torture smoking your weed. Like, this is not even enjoyable. Like, this is like I would literally sit in the room with my iPad watching The Wire the whole entire time. Like, that's literally what I did for a week, and watched The Wire. It was miserable. But their studies are a joke. Their studies, they're using shit weed. They're not using any good.
Well, they would know that if they were doing the studies for the last 60, 70 years. So
this was in Columbia University in Columbia. Like, I was like, yo, this, like, you guys got to do a better study. Like, this study is dumb. Like, I could have done a better study to figure this out. Like, at least give me some high quality THC, some good weed. Don't give me some fucking dirt. I want some
probably
top
can't,
shelf.
because maybe there's none that come from their approved facilities.
Well, maybe you shouldn't grow dirt. Maybe you should hire people that know how to grow weed and actually take care of the plants and talk to them and say hi.
That's not how the government does things, James.
You're a beautiful plant there, Mr. Marijuana Plant. You're very handsome, and you're gonna.
And on that note,
a very beautiful plant. On that note, though, it's been a blast, Ant.
This was fun.
Super excited. We're gonna try to do weekly content for Weed the People Radio, and we're gonna start doing some reviews very soon, and some product reviews and strain reviews, and we have a lot of big plans. I'm super excited for this.
Yeah,
this
man,
segment.
me too. I'm pumped.
There's gonna be a lot of cool things that we're gonna do. I'm not gonna tell you guys because I don't want to stealing any of my ideas until we get this off the ground. But we have
proprietary.
Yeah, we have some ideas. But we really appreciate you guys listening. We're gonna keep doing this. We'll be back with regular political commentary over the week. But until next time, guys, let's get really stoned. We got to come up with a cool slogan for this show.
I know.
We got to come up with something good. Like, put in the comments box down below. Let's see what our fans say. What kind of slogans they come up with. Put the comment box down below. But like, subscribe, share all of our content. We really appreciate it. I don't know if Nick wants us to sponsor Brick Amir, so we're gonna pass on this one.
Nah, we'll hold off.
We'll hold off. But it's been a lot of fun, and hope you guys enjoy this. And,
absolutely, it was a blast.
We bring some listeners over from our political segment over here, and we get some new listeners, because it's going to be a wild ride, and we have a lot of plans. So we really appreciate you guys. And until next week, we'll talk to you guys later.
Yeah, we'll see you next time.
You in here for some marijuana? Marijuana?